Hello, Nasdaq followers, and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. My name is Leanne Alfaro, and we are coming to you live from New York City at the Ping Identify conference. We're hearing from real enterprises here as we talk about identity intelligence, identity security, as well as managing identity in the multi-cloud platform environments. Joining me right now to talk a little bit more about the partnership with Ping Identity is ProofID's Cody Cook. He's Director of Professional Services, as well as Paul Heaney, who's Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with you, Cody. Now, the identity market has seen so much change in the last couple of years. So what are some of the big trends that you've noticed since?
I would say now what's becoming very prevalent for us and quite exciting with our customers is finally this adoption and this idea of a digital identity. It's a term we've been throwing around in the industry and in our space for years. You hear it, it's been fairly ethereal. People have a hard time wrapping their heads around that. But now we are seeing true adoption within enterprises, large enterprises and customers, whether it's focusing on internal workforce or whether it's focusing on securing customer identities, but this idea of the digital identity, which, and within that security, I mean, the days of securing by the perimeter have fallen down. It's really about identity now and using that as the new securing of the enterprise. And that idea, that adoption of the digital identity, which takes into context where the user's coming from, the device they're using, what app they may be using, for example. All of that comes into play when we get into use cases of authentication, authorization, what can they access. All of that can be taken into context and based to make very good real-time decisions. And so it really is a firming up of that identity, that idea of the digital identity. So.
I think to add to that, actually that then transitions to the passwordless authentication, that actually knowing who you are, your behaviour, your device, your standard way of working, that actually means that we're no longer continually prompting for your credential, your password. It's actually, who are you? Is this you? Is this behaving like you?
Yep.
Right. So what you said, Paul, is something we've heard time and time again today. Security is not just the parameters, it lives within who you are.
Yep.
The behavior.
The behaviors of who you are. Now, when you hear about identity security in this space and identity leaders, what are some of the main concerns that you're hearing?
Certainly, I mean, if I put myself in the shoes of an identity leader, I'm a CISO of an organization, and I'm the one making these decisions, or a CIO, and making purchasing decisions, whatever, on product. One thing we've seen, and the beauty of a trend we've seen over the years is this real push for standards, and Ping has been a huge advocate of that. Their own products pushing to get everything to be open standards, which is wonderful. Let's get away from the coupling, tight coupling of vendor stacks, and get into using open standards. But what comes with that, and what we see now, is a flood of products. Now that we are using open standards and everybody's playing by the same rules, there's a flood of products into the market, very much doing the same thing. A lot of overlap in these products, and so, in the shoes of a decision maker, you now have to sift through all of that. Where do I go? Which one am I going to use for this case? And certainly something, very much that a decision maker has to pay attention to. So.
Now, we know that Ping Identity and ProofID do have a partnership together. So could you tell me a little bit more about it, Paul?
Yep. Okay, so we're a global Ping Identity Platinum partner. We have partnerships across North America and Europe and the Middle East. We work very closely with Ping to provide expert consultancy, training, and also managed service, so managing the customer's Ping deployment on their behalf, so they can guarantee those services are available, are ready when the users need them, be those the customers, be those staff or partners, etc. So very close relationship there.
I mean, it's pretty much top to bottom. We, in addition to doing services for their customers, are an extension of their team, and I would comment that one key part of that partnership as well is just the longevity and the intimacy that we have. I mean, we've known the Ping team since inception almost, and this partnership goes way back. And because of that intimacy with the products, when it comes to servicing Ping customers and doing that for them, that intimacy is huge compared to our competition and how well they know the product set. So.
Now, speaking to Europe specifically, we're hearing a lot of talk about open banking and PSD2. Could you tell us, first of all, what that is and what implications that has for customers in the enterprise?
Yep. Okay, so PSD2 is a legislation set by the European authorities to provide open access to your financial data, so your bank accounts, your credit cards, all of that data in an open format that then third parties are able to access and consume. So if you bank with multiple providers, then you can have a dashboard seeing all your accounts. You can say, actually, I get a better deal if I move my bank account to this new bank, or I can make a payment direct from one to the other without going through sort of expensive additional channels. Mm-hmm. Open banking itself is the UK implementation of that, so it actually standardises the way that transaction will happen. We'll put defines a security profile, defines message structures around that make it possible for banks and third-party providers to actually integrate into an open banking ecosystem and be able to consume services from all of the banks within that system.
So, I mean, do you think we'll be seeing a similar approach then to financial transparency? And I feel like you've kind of addressed this.
So, I think that it's definitely a big thing in Europe.
Yeah.
There's definitely other governments, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, looking at this, and Australia going very heavily to it. Lots of banks in the US are looking to provide open access to that data, and it'd be great if America and other territories actually did open up and provide a standard mechanism. Whether we'll get there in America in the exit system that we've got here, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a movement, and there's definitely a lot of benefits that banks can get by actually leveraging an open standard that not only some people see as a threat that we're going to lose customers, but also it's a benefit that we can actually offer our customers a better service and actually attract new customers and sort of grow your attachment to a customer and make those customers even stickier than they currently are. So
absolutely. So now, when you think about customers working on scaling their identity security, what are some recommendations that you'd make? I'm sure you have plenty of experience. I mean, working with Ping Identity and ProofID, working with the customers that you do.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of customers that are very large spans of 80, 90, 100 countries and have very complex identity requirements. You've got data sovereignty requirements in various parts of Europe and Russia. You've got independent IT teams running these individual areas, and you might have acquired these users, acquired these organisations through an acquisition. It might be a partnership, and a one-size-fits-all approach of saying this is the book, this is the recipe that you will follow. It's never going to work. It's actually about winning the individual regions over, the users over, and actually, or the IT administrators, that you're not taking control away from you're meeting their individual requirements, but also then allowing them to participate in the greater ecosystem. So providing a standard set of policies and frameworks that they can adhere, that they can adopt, and then use those to actually interact with the greater organisation, and they are to benefit from all those services. The other thing to kind of say on that really is you're never going to get all users, you're not going to get all territories on board on day one, so break it up into chunks that can be easily achieved. Start off with countries that are well respected, that are able then to be sort of get them bought in, then they can advocate it, and if it's good enough for these territories, it's good enough for these organisations, actually perfect. The other smaller countries will follow on, will adopt that, and this is sort of similar to work we've done with a number of customers based around the globe that operate out of multiple territories, and if you get to 100% completion, you've done really well, but then you've got to acquire a new company. So it's an ongoing life cycle. It's never a task that's going to be completed. So that's sort of one key thing. And the second really is use experts, use people who actually really understand this technology that works in this space, and it sounds at the beginning, it's really simple, we'll just spam the AD globally. But in a large, complex organisation, there's a lot of moving parts that are very specialised, and having your IT team manage those sometimes can be counterproductive to the organisation, but actually, as an organisation, you want to specialise in making the best widgets, the best services for your customers, and actually your IT team should be out there building the next Amazon, the next Google, rather than sort of doing lots with the identity. Actually have that handled by dedicated expert professionals.
I think you bring up a good point about when it comes to scalability, how the work is never truly done. You always have to scale up little by little, right? But especially with all these advancements and how identity security is expected to change in the coming years, there's definitely more work to be done.
Yes.
Cody, do you have anything else to add up to that end?
It's good for us. We want there always to be more work to be done. Right?
Yeah.
But no, I agree. It is an evolving space, and as we've kind of already touched on, identity really is the new battleground of security, and it is evolving. It's going to continue to change, and enterprises have to pay attention to that and be on top of that. So.
Well, thank you so much for your insight, Cody, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing ProofID out on the Identify floor. Nasdaq followers, thank you so much for joining us today from Ping Identity's Identify conference. We will be recirculating these interviews out on Twitter, and there will be more to come right here from the Identify 2018 conference.